Hi, I'm Len with Hobby Universe Outdoors, and today I'm going to be installing a steering knob on my John Deere garden tractor. This is a brand new 2024 X590 that I just picked up probably 6 or 7 weeks ago now to replace an older X Series tractor that died. The old tractor that I replaced had one of these steering knobs on it, which I really did like having. The new tractor doesn't have it, and I was going to try to get away without it and just, see if I really cared or if I noticed a difference. I do. I do miss having that. And depending who you ask, some people love those steering knobs and they swear by them. I'm one of those people. There are other people that just think they're ridiculous and not necessary. Because you can palm the wheel on these things pretty easy with the power of steering, but I still would prefer to have the knob. So I thought I'd take a few minutes, make a quick video. It's going to be an easy install. Shouldn't take me long at all. But I'll kind of go through that with you, and then towards the end of the video, I'll let you know some of the things I do appreciate about it. And there's also a couple weird little things that go along with it, not necessarily bad, just different. And I'll show you what that looks like. The knob I'm going to be installing is somewhat of a generic version. I found it on Amazon, but when I was looking through these, it looked exactly like the ones that you could get that were specific to John Deere. It had like the John Deere logo on it, which is exactly what I had on my previous tractor. The difference is this generic version was $12.50 and the John Deere version was $22 to $24. So I thought I would go ahead and try this generic version just to kind of see, is it the same? And indeed it is. Comparing this with my old one, I really am not seeing any difference other than the missing logo. So while I appreciate a little bit of John Deere bling, I just wasn't able to justify nearly double the price just to have that little logo on there. When you get everything out of the package, or at least in my case, for the one that I bought, there were 3 sets of screws. There's going to be another set of screws already installed, which I believe are going to be the shortest screws. And there's also this rubber strap that is going to be used to keep the spinner knob from rotating on the steering wheel, because these spinners are made out of a hard plastic, or maybe it's a nylon, and the steering wheel is fairly hard as well. So without this rubber strap, the whole thing would want to rotate on the steering wheel, and we don't want that to happen. We want to get it where we like it and then know that it's going to stay in that position. As far as the different length screws, it's going to depend on the thickness of your steering wheel. That wasn't specifically made for this tractor. This is multi-purpose. You can use it on several different steering wheels. So we're going to have to go through trial and error and find out which length screw actually worked best for our application. And once I figure out what screw that is, I'll let you know. So if by chance you're installing it on an X500 series tractor, there's a very good chance you won't have to go through that trial and error. You can just use the same one that I did. Off camera, I test fitted the spinner mechanism on the steering wheel and tried a couple different screw lengths, and it turns out the longest version is the one that's going to work best in my application. The screw length from the bottom of the screw head to the end of the screw is about 1.5 inches. Now that I've figured out what screws I need to install the spinner onto the steering wheel, I'm going to put this rubber strap or rubber strip over the steering wheel, and I'm going to install the spinner mechanism, but I'm going to do it upside down to start, and that's just so that it's going to be easier to get these screws in and started. You just kind of drop in, and we're barely going to get them. We just want them to engage the threads on the other half, just to kind of hold everything in place, and we've done that. If you were to get them too tight at this point, you'd have trouble rotating it, which is what we're doing now. So now we've got that rotated, and when I did that, I wanted to make sure that the rubber strap in there didn't move, because that can actually happen, and that would be frustrating if you got everything all tightened up, you thought you were good to go, and realized that had moved. I'm going to start tightening these up, and I want to make sure that I don't tighten one side too much. I want to go back and forth on these, because when I'm done, I would like an equal amount of pressure on both sides. Yeah, that strap moved on me right there. And you want the space between the two halves to be roughly the same. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. We're not building a space shuttle here, we're just putting a spinner knob on a tractor. But just to make sure that, there's an equal amount of pressure on both sides, you're going to want to have those screws tightened about the same. And you can kind of cheat a little bit. You can see where the screw's coming up through, and how much it's protruding through the threads. So that's what we're going to do there. We're going to use that kind of as our gauge. Tighten these up, and you don't want to go crazy tight. This is simply a steering knob. So if you were to go too tight, you could strip out the threads. I read reviews online where people have actually had issues with that. Well, you just don't get on it like a gorilla. You just, get it tight enough. It's not going to move. We're in good shape. Here's a little bit of a closer look, and these are the gaps I was talking about. You want these gaps to be about the same size. Again, that's just to make sure you're not pinching down harder on one side than the other, which might allow for some movement. These are pretty darn equal, so I expect this to stay in place. We're going to go for a quick test drive, and I just wanted to show you that the knob works as it's supposed to. It's not moving around on the steering wheel. It's very secure. But the main reason for the test drive was to show you one of the quirks that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and that is the fact that the steering wheel does not return to the same position when you finish a turn. So you make a turn, you go back to straight, and the steering wheel will not be pointed in the same direction it was when you started the turn. So if you're going to install this steering knob, you don't have to be finicky with where it is on the wheel in relation to where you want it to be when you're trying to go in a straight line, because that will change. It's not a big deal. Thought it was going to drive me nuts when I first started to encounter it on my X530, but I got used to it pretty quickly, and I don't even notice it now. So, but just a heads up, that's something you will see. The tractor knob is installed. It's ready to go. Next time I mow the grass, I'm going to be happy to have that on there. I really did miss having it compared to my old tractor. Appreciate you stopping by and watching video from Hobby Universe Outdoors. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button. That way you'll get notifications when I upload a new video, and it'll also help me build my channel, which I certainly do appreciate. Again, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day.